Hello, and welcome back to the Bright Founders Talk podcast from Temi. Temi is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. My name is Chris, and today's guest is someone who has a vast amount of experience in the world of business, especially in software engineering and leading teams. Igor Bakman, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much. So it's a Monday. I actually love Mondays, so I'm quite good.
All right. Makes one of us. Good. Some quick fire questions. First one, what, in your opinion, makes a good boss?
What makes a good big boss? Well, definitely listens to the people who it leads, he or she, adapts, definitely, and also shows a very clear direction of where we're going. Like we have to have a direction. So otherwise, like only listening to people, only working with people, it's necessary, but it's not the only thing that puts out a good outcome.
Okay, I see. So, three factors really, you would say, make a good boss or make up a good boss.
So pretty much.
How do you relax if you've had a very busy day?
I have a boxing sack at home.
What, sorry?
A boxing sack.
Ah, right, okay.
And I usually prefer just doing some sports. Sports to get out the energy, that helps a lot, definitely.
Yeah, true. That's a good way to relieve the stress. And what did you want to be growing up?
Honestly, I still don't know. Like, that's still not on the sensor. But when I was younger, I don't know, it varies every time, like every period of my life. Recently, like the last kind of years, I did want to become a CTO eventually. Beforehand, just wanted to be a great developer. Beforehand, I don't know, probably something even more banal than my answers thus far.
I just thought maybe, because you have like the general stereotypical ones, like I wanted to be a firefighter or a football player or
an astronaut.
Astronaut, yeah. None of those?
So no, I'm afraid of heights. We don't get along, so that's definitely not an astronaut for me. Maybe also not climbing on trees and saving cats, so not a firefighter. Mm-hmm. No, nothing typical as that. Still trying to figure this out. So I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know. Cool. Well, going back to the beginning in quotations, let's say, what did you study then, and like why did you study that course or that diploma or that degree? Where did you start?
Yeah, so that's quite an interesting journey ahead. I started actually in the army, in the Israeli army, so I'm Israeli mostly. And I started there as a networks technician. And I really liked the area, and I wanted to continue at that direction. Mm-hmm. And I went on and study telecommunication engineering, which is heavily emphasized on networks, telecommunications, and software engineering eventually. Although the software engineering part was just a part of the entire diploma, I ended up doing exactly that.
Would you say that it's quite an interesting way to go into a degree, or no degree, into an area or a field, because I think the same is with the British Army as well. You can obviously specialize. I'm just curious, in that situation, do they help you with, let's say, post-military, like working in that same field? Do they have connections with businesses or that? Are you able to network for later on?
I could have, if I wanted to work directly, like some of my colleagues or some of my comrades did. But I actually chose to go to the uni and study further that specific domain. Although eventually did not ended up working that specific domain, but nonetheless, it was very much fun.
I just wondered, because I'm just trying to get to the idea that, do you think it was beneficial in terms of what you did or what you do now? Did they give you enough practical experience, or was it something later on you just had to kind of trial and error and learn on the job rather than in the studies?
Well, the first thing that my team lead told me after my uni, so the first place I worked at and the first team lead I had there after my uni, he told me, please forget everything you learned. So it's kind of a very stereotypical, but very much true. Yeah, there's theoretical studies in the actual real life, where all the pen meets the road, but the black belt.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I think just because looking back on my own or other people I've spoken to, their studies, they often say, I didn't really. Maybe it was a way to build curiosity and work towards something, but they found they learned more on the job. So I'm just curious,
Yeah, for sure. So again, a degree, to be honest, a degree is just a symbol of the fact that you can overcome something difficult. Yes, you gain some knowledge, of course. Yes, you gain some friends, but it's like more or less a symbol that you overcame something very difficult, very challenging, and you can do it.
Talking about your career specifically, what was it like the first ever job? I think you mentioned a little bit, but what was it like the first ever job you ever had? How did you cope? What was the first couple of months or days like in the world of business or work?
Okay, so the world of business, so we can exclude the army. That's a little bit different. It's unique. It's a very, how can I say, it's very corporate. It's the most corporate thing that you can think of. I mean, yeah, to a degree. But in the world of startups, after my uni, I started working in a startup. I was the eighth person joining as a developer. So that was a very unique experience, a very throw you into the cold and deep of the pool and start swimming immediately.
How did you find it?
Well, now I remember this very nostalgically. But to be honest, I didn't dread it at the time. So it was a very interesting challenge. So as long as there was a huge amount of learning experience attached to the challenge, it was great. Like, to be honest, it was great. A lot of that threw me also into the working with customers, clients, and that was also a very unique experience for someone fresh out of the uni. So yeah, that was also something that needed to be ramped up very much quickly.
Well, your career path has taken you from what I discovered, from a software engineer to a chief technology and product officer. So could you just walk us through some key transitions in your career? Like what happened? What do you think led you to something else? Anything you picked up you thought was important?
Transitions. So one transition obviously was from becoming an individual contributor or a developer to a team lead. My CTO back then presented me with the option, okay, should I get you a new team lead or do you want to become one? And I said, yeah, sure, I'll try. He said, good luck, and told me you have 2 days.
Again, in the deep end. just
very deep end. No, it was very supportive, but I was still in contact. So that was a very, very interesting and very different experience than I had before. And I mean, yes, I was a team lead in the army, but that was a very different experience. Also, you have a rifle, so we can probably. No, I'm kidding.
Easy to motivate your colleagues.
Yeah. But the motivation comes from a different place. I don't know, but it was a very different experience, and I found it very, very to my liking, for my personal life, because I really love code. I really like the feeling of, okay, you putting something in and you know what's coming out. Well, more or less. With people, it's very much different. So you need to put much more work, and it doesn't always get you an outcome, if any. So that's a very different interaction, a very different energy, a very tailored energy to each and every individual that you help leading. So that was the first intersection or first crossroads that I had in my career.
So in these different roles you've moved into, because they are, I think, pretty different. Going from a programmer, right, or developer, to working with people is, in my mind, so different, because normally the stereotypical programmer is quite introverted, and a team lead, I suppose you have to be a people person and more extroverted. So I just wondered, how did you adapt your skills to different industries or different roles?
Read a lot, study a lot, go seek for any piece of information that I can only put my hands on. Literally dozens of books, dozens of meetups, a lot of consultation. I have been using a couple of leadership coaches in the last couple of years that have been helping me also, well, level up my game and get it to a different level. Also having some people to chat with about various problems or issues or some things that just happening. I mean, other CTOs is also very much helpful because I always found it very not funny, funny, but funny in terms of the CTO is kind of the loneliest person in the company. Yeah, I found it true. I found it very much true.
Really?
So it does help to have a circle of friends or colleagues that are in the more or less same level as you are. Yeah, to consult.
Do you feel like then that you enjoy more the ground level work in terms of being back in the trenches with the programmers, or you relish more, or you enjoy the responsibility despite maybe, like you said, the loneliness? Which you prefer?
Oof, that's a tough question. Depends what day you ask me.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, sometimes, yeah, I'm quite envious of my developers that get to do very, very cool things, innovative and thinking out of the box and solving some challenging problems. But there are times that I really love the interactions and the collaboration and the brainstorming that we have in the leadership team and in the C level. It's very much different. So it goes back to the question you asked me, what I want to be when you grow up. I still don't know. I love them both. So I'm trying to play in both fields.
Is there, especially leading up to the position you're in now, including your experience in the military, your degree, maybe the early positions you had, are there any skills or things that you picked up or advice you got that you use now in your current position?
Continual learning, just absolutely continual learning. So you asked before about the introvert extrovert thing. As a developer, I'm mostly an introvert. But now I try to categorize myself, trying to will it into existence as an ex-introvert. So I'm trying to learn this, and the learning part is definitely one of the biggest asset skills or things that you have to have when you want to move anywhere.
Right. Yeah. Again, but like you said, being maybe flexible as well in terms of adapting, learning.
You need to learn this. You need to learn to be flexible.
Yeah.
You need to learn to open up your mind. And yeah.
Well, you've seen that you've done a lot of different positions which would force you to be flexible, force you to be able to adapt, right? So it's maybe a good thing to throw yourself in the deep end.
Evidently, yes.
I want to just move on a little bit to talking a little bit about the technical strategy and scaling that you've done. One thing, so you've built and scaled engineering departments. Just wondered if you could share some specific strategies you use to structure these departments or structure these departments for sustainable growth, or strategies.
One thing that I definitely did that I absolutely advise everyone not to do, which is, I think, a common theme, using multiple technologies, especially programming languages, throughout your tech stack. So that's one experience that I tried out, and it doesn't scale. Absolutely not. So
really?
That's definitely a big no-no. So yeah. So since then, everywhere I'm going to trying to minimize the very least the programming languages, but also the tech stack it will be maintainable by more than one person, more than the person that just tried to add this. Yeah, so that's definitely one thing. In terms of scale, it pretty much goes by the book, and like you don't want to prematurely optimize things. I mean, sometimes it can work out, but the vast majority of the attempts they just fail, and you don't want to you want to be prepared for growth, but not necessarily build already everything that you need for that growth. Again, sometimes it works, sometimes it pans out, sometimes you have other considerations, but the vast majority of cases, if there's no need, just do the smallest, I wouldn't say the quickest thing, but the smallest, the best thing that you can with your teams, and go step by step.
Well, I just want to jump on what you just mentioned, because it kind of leads into my next question. I wanted to ask about, you mentioned tech stacks. So like, how did you go about, or what was your approach to renovating tech stacks or revamping tech stacks, especially in Vivira, right? Is it Vivira?
Yeah, Vivira. We met an interesting tech stack when I joined the company, and we had an Elixir backend, a monolith Elixir backend. And although the programming language by itself is good and is very much scalable, the thing is that there aren't enough developers around that you can pick and choose and then help you to scale the company later on. So we decided early on to migrate from that and into a different language. So we tried to explore several languages. Me as a Java guy, I was rooting for Java, but we ended
just because it's more, you're used to it more, or any particular reason?
It's a proven language, first and foremost. It's much more evolved language than it was 5 or even 10 years ago. So, and you have a huge pool of developers that you can just ramp up and basically plug and play without too many ramp ups. We ended up with going with Kotlin because it's not the second best thing. It's actually the upgrade from Java, and we're actually seeing the benefits and the fruits of that choice throughout the years. So with a very compact and concise code base, with very elegant solutions on the framework sides. Yeah, like it very much.
Talking about Vivira, I always worry that I'm saying it wrong, but Vivira, it was Vivira Health Lab, right?
Yep.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you do there? Because I looked into it a little bit. It seems to be about musculoskeletal disorders, right? Is it musculoskeletal?
Yeah, musculoskeletal disorders.
Okay.
Yeah, a very easy word to pronounce, of course. Yeah, because why not? So, yeah, absolutely not. But nonetheless, we're producing applications, so actually medical devices in the forms of applications to treat. At the moment, it's currently only back pain, but we aim to treat the entire musculoskeletal diseases. And at the moment, our business works such that we're being prescribed by doctors to patients with back pain. So basically, if you go to a doctor and you say that you have back pain, they can prescribe our app in the same fashion that a doctor can prescribe you antibiotics. So in that regard, we are a medical device. Yeah. So
how does it help? How does it help them people? Because for me as an average person, the link between an app and helping you with a disorder, I don't know how that would work. How does it? Does it have exercises or?
Yeah, there are specific exercises that are tailored for the patient, and if the patient follows the course treatment, gets better. So we ran back in the day, several years ago, a medical study that compares us to physiotherapy, and it turns out that actually using our app is better than going to a physiotherapist.
Yeah, finally a useful app. Normally it's Facebook or something. You waste lots of time. This was, it's something a lot more useful. No, I was gonna ask you about this company and your role, because it's a healthcare tech industry, and that seems like such a not a difficult industry, but definitely it seems very unique. So I just wondered, what unique challenges have you had to overcome, or have you faced that you've worked through in the healthcare tech industry?
It's a very difficult industry, I would say. So the difficulty comes from the fact that we are a medical device company, and by such we need to adhere to a lot of regulations. And since we're working in the specific business domain that we have even more regulations on top of us, which is by itself understandable, because we are treating human lives actually, and trying to get them better. So there should be a level of regulation on top of each and every type of this company, and those are basically the challenges. So getting us a bunch of documentation regulation that we need to adhere to, and us finding very creative solutions to adhere to them and to comply to them. So this is basically the most challenging aspect of this work.
Yeah, I can imagine it must be quite regulated for good reason. How do you see technology evolving in this field then, in the field of, well, specifically maybe your area, musculoskeletal, panicking if I could pronounce it, or just maybe the medical tech environment? How do you see technology evolving?
Slowly. Pretty much slowly. That's unessential, but it is evolving. So we do see a good progression and a good advance in the area of health tech, especially health tech in Germany, which is to a lot very much surprising. But nonetheless, it is happening, and it's followed by regulation and laws and lawmakers. But nonetheless, we do see some advance here. So I don't think that will ever be the tip of the spear of, let's say, generative AI or something like that.
Okay, that's what's going to try. Is AI going to be involved in your sphere at all, or not really?
Well, you're also in the EU, so now we're facing with the EU AI Act. Let's see if the EU AI Act will be exactly as they planned it to be. Then no. Then we will be lagging way behind everyone else.
What is the act rough? What is it about? I haven't heard about that. Is it sort of preventing involvement?
Yeah, it's basically heavily regulating any AI, any application.
In any industry, or just specifically healthcare?
Yes and yes. So it depends on the amount of harm that potentially can be submitted to a patient or to a customer.
Okay.
Well, let's see. It's still in the making, and yeah.
What do you see next for you and for Vivira Health Lab then? Are there any specific goals or projects on the horizon?
Yes, quite a lot. So we are trying to expand our reach, our product portfolio, and hopefully also one day to internationalize the company. So those are very roughly, but very concretely, some ideas and directions that we are aiming to go to in the upcoming several years.
Brilliant. And just one final question. If you could spend 24 hours or maybe a week with any CEO or any other sort of business professional, who would you like to shadow? Who would you like to spend some time with? Or which company would you like to spend some time in?
Oh, I'm going to get myself in trouble here.
Really?
Elon Musk.
Oh, really? Okay.
Elon Musk.
Just because he's very innovative.
Because he's relentless. He's the most relentless probably engineer, entrepreneur. I don't even know how to call him. Yeah, but a very interesting personality in terms of like from the one hand personality, but also from the business side, business tech side, and processes. So totally fascinating. It doesn't matter if you like him or don't like him, but it is a fascinating personality.
Did you see I was amazed by the recent rocket launch thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know how to describe it. It was crazy. Couldn't believe it. Be nice to tell you how he did that if you could understand it. But yeah.
Yes, but also even the smaller things of, you cut down 80% of Twitter's workforce and still have uptime, which is very significant and very impressive. How
True.
The things like that as well. Very interesting.
All right, brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time, Igor. And we wish you all the best moving forward with the tech healthcare industry with Vivira.
Thank you very much, Chris.